Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Little Miss Jacob Show. This is an emergency press conference because I am calling BS on the 200K New York Times settlement rumor. All right, besties, let's talk about this wild rumor that the New York Times is about to settle Justin Baldoni's defamation lawsuit for 200K. I'm going to get into it, but I'm going to wait for more of you guys to get in the room here and then we'll go forward. So we'll start it with the countdown and the Little Miss Jacob song music.
Watch your step. She's here to play. And though she
right
be
back.
but little, she is fierce. Takes the drama, cuts it clear. This is the Little Miss Jacob Show. Bullies beware, she'll take you down in a thread, you know. Play it cool, keep it calm, let the rhythm flow. Climbing high while they're stuck down below. No shortcuts, no cheats, she's here to win. Every comeback's fire, let the games begin. Oh, keep tight, watch the moves unfold. Every word's a strike, every line is gold. Take your shot, but she's 10 steps ahead. Every headline reads the thread she just said. It's the rhythm of the bold, the beat of the free, the sound of ambition, the way it should be. Step by step, let the groove take control. Turn the highs and lows into pure gold. This is the show. This is the vibe. The Little Miss Jacob groove is alive. And though she be but little, she is fierce, cuts through the noise with words that pierce. It's not just wit, it's how you move. Every challenge fuels the groove. It's the rhythm of the bold, the beat of the free, the sound of ambition, the way it should be. Step by step, let the groove take control. Turn the highs and lows into pure gold. This is the show. This is the vibe. The Little Miss Jacob groove is alive.
Okay, I got you. All right. One sec. I'm getting my information straight.
She's calling it out. No room for doubt. She'll flip the whole route. This is the Little Miss Jacob Show, where the real ones rise and the rest lay low.
All right. Okay, so you guys are right. Okay, first let's kind of backtrack because I couldn't find this anywhere credible, and honestly, I've done very little research into this, but I just decided we need an emergency press conference to talk about this before the rumor gets out of hand. And I really think we got to put a pin on this one because I don't think it's true. But all right, here we go. You're watching the Little Miss Jacob Show. I'm about to teach you guys a master class. Okay, I'm calling BS that the New York Times is willing to settle Justin Baldoni's lawsuit. With so much love and respect, I gotta say, I don't think it's true. And I love Dana, I really do. But this is too important not to break down. So I was sent a DM, and let's just play Daily Dose of Dana. Now, seriously, like, I love Dana. Like, she's awesome. I think her coverage on this is good. I think everybody should go follow her and join her channel, follow her everywhere because she's so cute and she's like really staying on top of this. And she and Zach were like really, I mean, I saw them posting about this really, really early on. So I think they're the creators that really know everything about this in terms of what's going on. But I will say I have a special insight into the Justin Baldoni versus New York Times situation because I've sued the New York Times for defamation, and I starred in my very own New York Times hit piece. Like I've said before, 0 out of 10 experience, do not recommend. But I have a different type of insight because when this happened to me, I was like, how is this possible that the New York Times can just lie? And my attorneys were like, well, it is possible because of these reasons. And I remember being like, what? That's crazy. Like, how can the New York Times just lie? And so I learned, which I'm willing to teach all of you, the things that I learned that really blew my mind in terms of what they can get away with. So let's watch this clip and we can see if this I didn't even see like if she says where the rumor originated or anything like that. um I wish there's better layouts on StreamYard, guys. I don't know, it's so annoying. But we're just gonna have to okay, there we go. We can do this. We can do this. But it's like, why? Okay, here we go. Okay. How's this? How's this? How's this layout? Okay, do we like that? All right, well, that's what we're going with.
More about the smear campaign than she does the sexual harassment part. I would say she probably already has whatever
We'll put it on
evidence
a
she
little
has with the
faster.
sexual harassment already out there. I don't believe she's going to have more on the sexual harassment. I just don't. In my heart, in my gut, I don't think that she's going to have more on the sexual harassment, like hidden. I just don't. And if she does, I'm not sure how trustworthy it's going to be because I think she would have already had that documented.
I agree with that.
I think now she's really trying to prove the retaliation portion of it. And the fact that Jed Wallace countersued her, even though she never actually sued her, Jed, but sued her for $7 million in damages, I think proves right then and there that she doesn't have a case. Because why in the world would he out of nowhere sue her if he actually worked on her smear campaign? It would make no sense whatsoever. The fact that he out of nowhere picked up and sued Blake for defamation if he actually worked on her smear campaign would make no sense. Like he would have been in the clear.
That's true.
This is
because
wild
he's going to have to give text messages and stuff too.
So Felicia says a lawyer on TikTok noted she may drop the sexual harassment and focus on the retaliation. We'll see. We will see. But I do not believe in any way whatsoever that this is going to go her way. But I think you guys, like, she has to do what she has to do. So she's going to sit there all day long. She's not her team all day long looking for one piece of evidence that maybe they asked one creator or did one thing to post one thing. Good luck in life. That does not equal a smear campaign. One article does not equal a smear campaign. Okay. We'll see what happens there. Let's move on to the next portion of my show just to kind of get through the episode since there's a lot to talk about. But thank you so much for everyone that's here for the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni content. It keeps coming. That's what she said. All week
right, I don't
long,
have
every
it.
single
I don't
day.
have
There's
it
always going to be an
queued.
update. So thank you. And stick around with Daily Dose of Donna because I am on it on a daily basis, constantly, every day. Meanwhile, I want to shout out Honey Love because as you guys know, Daily Dose of Donna is sponsored by Honey Love and tomorrow's Valentine's Day. You'll want to show. I flagged the DM. DMs suck, by the way, because I get so many Instagram DMs, like beyond so many, and I don't know how recorded. But Steve Sarowitz is
Okay, here we go.
And they said to me, I'm not sure, really important, you know what I mean? Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna find it, you guys. Give me a second. Okay. This person sent me a DM. We were DMing at like 4 this morning because I have not slept, like I said. And they said to me, I'm not sure that this has been reported, but
Yeah, I think this is it. And I think it's not going to be true, Dana. I'm sorry.
this person said, I am very good friends. I'm going to change some words. Very good friends with someone who is close with the owner, the billionaire behind Wayfair. Okay. So Steve Sarowitz, got it? Steve Sarowitz is the owner of Wayfair.
So this source is 2 people removed, 2 degrees of separation removed, I guess, from
Who is the person who is backing Justin Baldoni's lawsuits. He's the CEO of the billionaire behind Wayfair, Steve Sarowitz. You guys know who that is at this point, right? Also being sued by Blake Lively. I'm trying to take out personal details. This person has known everything since the beginning. Okay. The New York Times is currently pushing to settle with him, with Wayfair, right? In this case.
I call BS
has
on
offered
this.
$200 million to settle. Remember, Justin Baldoni's team,
200 million, no.
is suing New York Times for $250 million. The New York Times is pushing to settle for $200 million. He will not settle. He doesn't need the money. He is going to take it
This is not
all the way to court because there is something with the Baha'i faith that would normally be opposed to suing, but this is for the greater good. I freaking love this. Like my heart just jumped when I read this. He figures not everyone can.
I do believe that this is why Steve Sarowitz is doing this. I do believe that he's filing the lawsuit against the New York Times because of this. I think he's doing it even though he knows it's almost impossible to win, especially with the article the New York Times wrote about Baldoni. But I don't think they offered. I would say with like 99.9% certainty that they didn't offer 200 million. No way.
Fight the Times.
No way.
And he wants to.
And not this early on. No way.
Hold them accountable. If this is true, my eyes were like, oh. He figures not everyone can fight the Times and he wants to hold them accountable. The integrity of journalism has gone to shit. So that's why he's fighting the fight, and it's not true. Is that not the best thing you've ever heard in your entire life?
It's great if it were
because
true.
I freaking hate the New York Times. They have lied so much about so much shit. They've ruined so many people's lives. They've put so many people in danger because of their lies that they've told in the last couple of years, at least in my opinion. So this makes me so happy. And I don't know who this man Steve Sarowitz is, but what a mensch. Okay. Then they went on to say this, and let me just pull something else up. I just need to be very, very careful that I don't say the wrong thing. You know, I get so nervous sometimes when I'm reading DMs. I feel like Dumois, because she always gets these DMs and they're like, Anon, please. And then like when she reads them, I always get so nervous that she's gonna say something. Okay.
I'm not cool, you guys. I don't know half these people.
Then she says, now this makes me nervous. Oh, okay, you guys ready? She says, it is true that Justin and Blake had something. They got extremely close. They weren't going to leave their spouses for each other though, but there was something there, and that's where the problem is. Now remember, this is someone who has gotten information secondhand, allegedly from someone from Steve Sarowitz. So just remember, this is not firsthand. So I don't know.
So unfortunately, you can't believe if the New York Times thing is not true, then I don't think this other thing is true because this person is unfortunately.
If this is true or not. This is just from the source. I still think that it's one way. I don't believe it was from Justin, but it's possible that maybe they just got really close. I'm just telling you what this person has told me. Then it says Justin's camp may be feeding Perez Hilton information. I don't love that idea. Then it says
well, they have the same lawyer, so
Ryan Reynolds has a very bad temper and did go ballistic because of how close she has gotten to Justin on site.
I did hear also from trusted sources that this was all Ryan Reynolds, but anyway, let's keep listening.
So that was true. And I said, so when you say close, like they had feelings for each other or one way, because I can buy that she did, but not that he did for some reason. This person said, I'm going to try to get more detail on it today. Then they said, she said it started from Justin and Blake getting very close. Neither would ever actually do anything, but there was a very strong connection. I don't like that.
All right.
Then there is, okay, hold on.
Oh, there's more.
I'm going to read something else. Hold on. Okay. Then she tells me something else about Steve Sarowitz, which I don't want to share, but apparently he is incredibly, incredibly nice. They're all very nice people. That's basically what she's saying. That they're all very, very good people, very charitable, very good people. And I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
Go follow Dana. She's awesome. She's so cute. But I'm going to call BS on her source. Okay. It's not, she's reading the stuff that I get it. Like you want to put everything that's potentially out there, but let's talk about this. Here's why the rumor doesn't add up. Okay, hang on a sec. First of all, the New York Times doesn't settle defamation cases, like ever. They fought every major lawsuit since 1964, and they're not about to change that for Baldoni. Second, this lawsuit is a long shot. Winning a defamation case against the media in the US, it's nearly impossible, but specifically against the New York Times. And if Baldoni's billionaire backer actually got an offer for $200 million and turned it down, that would be insane. Not just because he doesn't need the money, but because they don't offer to settle. So here's why this rumor doesn't add up, why the New York Times would rather go to war than settle, and what it really takes to win a case like this. Let's talk about why suing the New York Times is basically like trying to beat the house in Vegas. The system is designed for you to lose. The New York Times hasn't lost a libel case since the 1960s. Here's why. Did you know that the New York Times hasn't lost a libel suit in over 60 years? They never settle, not because they never lie, please, but because the legal system is rigged in their favor. The case that made them untouchable is the New York Times versus Sullivan in 1964. Back then, libel law was a free-for-all. If you printed something damaging, even if it was true, you could be sued to the ground. Newspapers were drowning in lawsuits. So when Montgomery City Commissioner L.B. Sullivan sued the New York Times for defamation over an ad that criticized police brutality, not even mentioning him by name, he won. The Alabama jury awarded him $500,000, which was a fortune back then. The New York Times appealed to the Supreme Court, arguing that public officials shouldn't win libel cases unless they could prove actual malice, meaning the publisher knowingly lied or acted recklessly. And the court agreed. So I'm going to pull up my thread on X here that I made about this, and we're going to go through it because it's super important that everybody understands what's going on here. So maybe we can do that other view that I just set up. Okay. Here we go. Can you guys see? All right. So make it a little smaller so you guys can read it. All right. Here's my thread, and I'll go through it with you guys and we can talk about it. So did you know the New York Times hasn't lost a libel suit since the 1960s and they never settle? Is it because they never lie or because the system's rigged in their favor? The truth about media accountability will blow your mind. So here is a piece written by the New York Times, Liz Spade, called A Rare Libel Suit Against the Times. Let's read just this beginning portion. Murray Energy Corporation, one of the largest coal mining companies in the country, has just taken a step that most companies never dare try. It sued the New York Times for libel. In a legal claim announced on Friday, Murray Energy asserts that a recent Times editorial falsely accused the company's founder, Robert Murray, of lying about the cause of a deadly mine collapse and wrongly asserted that his company violated federal regulations in excess of industry norms. To the untrained eye, this might look like routine legal jousting. But hardly anyone jousts with the times when it comes to formally asserting libel. When they do, they almost never win. I'm told by the legal department here that the last time the newspaper lost a libel suit in the United States was at least the early 1960s. It has lost 2 in Russia and 1 in 2015. In the case of Murray Energy, the Times said in a statement, "We haven't been served with a complaint, but we're confident that our editorial was accurate and we intend to defend the case vigorously." That's what they always say. It's perhaps not surprising that is Robert Murray. It's perhaps not surprising that it is Robert Murray trying to buck the odds against the Times. He has emerged as one of the more outspoken coal company executives amid tensions over environment regulations. In one 2007 article, he was referred to as having a bombastic style, okay, and a man who pushes against well-established wisdom. A man who pushes against well-established wisdom. That's what the New York Times is telling you. He's suing the New York Times because he's known to be a man that pushes against well-established wisdom. He's a man that pushes against what the elitist New York Times considers absolute fact, including the concept of climate change. He pushes against climate change, so he must be an absolute nutcase. That's what the New York Times wants you to think. All right, so before New York Times versus Sullivan in 1964, libel law was basically a free-for-all. If you printed something damaging, true or not, you could be sued into oblivion. The New York Times and other outlets were drowning in lawsuits. The case that changed everything was Montgomery City Commissioners L.B. Sullivan sued the New York Times over an ad criticizing police brutality during the civil rights movement. The ad wasn't about him specifically, but Sullivan sued for defamation. Sullivan won. An Alabama jury awarded him $500,000, which was a fortune. We talked about that. The New York Times appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, arguing that public officials, okay, he was somebody that worked for the government. That's what a public official was, you know. This is why this law went into effect, okay, or this precedent. Arguing that public officials shouldn't be able to win libel suits without proving actual malice. So this is what the actual thing that came out. And, we won't go deep into that. Heed their rising voices. The New York Times argued public officials shouldn't win libel suits unless they could prove actual malice, meaning the publisher knowingly lied or acted recklessly. The court agreed, and the New York Times Sullivan changed the game. This ruling saved the press. Great for free speech until it wasn't. At first, this was a win for the civil rights journalism, for civil rights journalism, which was under attack from Southern officials trying to silence the truth. But over time, it didn't just protect the press, it made them basically untouchable. So this gave journalists the freedom to report on controversial topics without constant fear of lawsuits. It was a huge win for civil rights reporting, which had been under attack. And now you have to understand there's a twist. There's always a twist, okay? Over time, New York Times versus Sullivan didn't just protect the press, it made them nearly untouchable. To win a libel suit, public figures now have to prove the publisher knew that they were lying or didn't care about the truth. And that's almost an impossible standard. This is a movie clip from the 1981 movie Absence of Malice. And it explains pretty much exactly why the media gets away with lying so often. In this movie, this gal is a journalist, and she is trying to talk to the lawyer at the publication where she works to ask him, how do we write the story without getting in trouble? And here's what the lawyer says. And it's very, I don't know, it reminds me of what the New York Times' lawyer would say to a journalist, and it explains this whole thing.
You may say,
Is he a public figure?
He's not going to sue, for God's sake. So what does it take to make him a public figure?
What does it take to make him a public figure, she
If I
says.
knew that, I should be a judge. They never tell us till it's too late.
If I knew that, I should be a judge. They never tell us till it's too late.
Must admit, I'd be more comfortable if he were a movie star or a football coach.
He wants him, the subject, to be a movie star or a football coach. Why? Because that would make him a public figure.
Football coaches are very safe indeed. Have we spoken with Mr. Gallagher?
We don't exactly call the mafia for comment.
We don't exactly call the mafia for comment, she says.
Please make the attempt.
Please make the attempt, he says.
If he talks to us, we'll include his denials.
If he talks to us, we'll include his denials, which will create the appearance
of
fairness, which will create the appearance of fairness.
If he declines to speak, we can hardly be responsible for errors which he refuses to correct.
If he declines to speak, we cannot be, we can't be blamed for errors he refuses to correct. And if we fail to reach him,
at least we tried.
At least we tried.
What are you telling me, counselor?
I'm telling you, madam, that as a matter of law.
I'm telling you, madam, that as a matter of law, the truth of your story is irrelevant. The truth of your story is irrelevant.
The truth of your story is irrelevant. We have no knowledge the story is false.
We have no knowledge the story is false.
Therefore, we're absent malice.
Therefore, we're absent malice.
We've been both reasonable and prudent.
We've been both reasonable and prudent.
Therefore, we're not negligent.
Therefore, we're not negligent.
We may say whatever we like about Mr. Gallagher, and
we may say whatever we like about Mr. Gallagher, and he is powerless to do us harm. Isn't that the truth?
He's powerless to do us harm. Democracy is served.
Democracy is served. Well, not quite, right, guys? I mean, that is how unfair it is, and it does remind me of what the New York Times likely does. And it gets worse. The internet has blurred the line between private citizen and public figure. One person lost a libel case, I think this century, whatever, not the century, the last 10 years, because they ran a Facebook group. These days, even having a TikTok account can make you a public figure, so good luck proving actual malice. The internet really blurs the line between what is a private citizen and what is a public figure. If you have a popular TikTok, congrats, you're a public figure now. So why is Baldoni's lawsuit going to be so hard to prove? Well, let's go through the rest here. The New York Times hasn't lost a libel suit in over 6 years. They don't settle either. Why would they? The bar to beat them is too high. They can drag lawsuits until their opponents run out of money. Oh, and it gets better. To even survive a motion to dismiss in these cases before you can even go to court, you basically have to prove your case before discovery, like before all the receipts, before you have facts, before you have receipts, timeline, screenshots. Yeah, you got to prove your case before that. You got to have the smoking gun in your hand before you get discovery. And that's where all the evidence lives. So good luck getting there. And if you lose, the anti-SLAPP laws mean you could be stuck paying their legal fees. Imagine footing the New York Times bill. I get why Sullivan happened. The press needed protection during the civil rights movement, but now the pendulum has swung way too far. Media giants are bulletproof. And even when they get it wrong and ruin lives, they get away with it. The press should be free, but not free from accountability. Y'all agree? Oops. Sullivan was meant to protect truth tellers, not give media outlets a free pass forever. The internet changed the game, but libel law hasn't kept up. Maybe it's time we rethink how this all works. I like this little meme. Just because you're free to say whatever you want doesn't mean you always should. My friend Ashley Rinsberg wrote a book about all the crazy things the New York Times has gotten away with. The truth will definitely shock you. And he actually really did help me when everything was going down with the Times and my lawsuit. When I was defamed by the New York Times and Taylor Lorenz, everyone said the same thing. Just sue them. But when I talked to lawyers, they looked at me like, poor girl. She has no idea that that's actually impossible. I had no money, no power, and no idea what I was up against. It wasn't impossible. Thanks to Ben Walter, my contract attorney, he responded to the New York Times endless questions, pulling an all-nighter with me before the article went live, making it easier to protect myself. And I actually had a case because I had an attorney helping me to respond to the New York Times. Joe Sibley, a Texas attorney, he filed my case, and then the Dillon Law Group joined in to turn up the pressure. The case settled, and sure, you could roast me for not taking it further, but here's the reality. We didn't just survive. And it settled for no money. I didn't get any money, but I didn't have to pay their legal fees, and I didn't have to sign a gag order. So I can tell my story, and I could be there. I could be here to just be like a little, thorn in the New York Times side for the rest of time. But we didn't just survive, we won. A judge ruled the case could move forward, and we beat the motion to dismiss twice, even after the New York Times tried to get the judge to reconsider. So here's what I learned. When people tell you something is impossible, it's on you to find out if that's really true. Which it wasn't impossible to sue the New York Times. It's still questionable whether it's possible to win. Now, I've moved on, and I love sharing these stories with you. By the way, if you're here, you know what to do. Subscribe, ring that notification bell, like this video, and share it with others so they can join in with us. Thank you. Pure Jealousy says, I was following your case back then. So happy to see you back on YouTube. Love your channel. Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. So here's why I think Baldoni's lawsuit faces an uphill battle. Baldoni is suing the New York Times for defamation, but here's the issue. The New York Times didn't even make the allegations. It pointed to Lively's complaint. Remember, if you guys go watch my video where we read the New York Times article, they say, according to the complaint, blah, blah, blah. So why would New York Times settle this? Because they're not going to lose. They're just going to tell the judge, hey, judge, we're just reporting on a complaint that was publicly filed. It's fine to get that information. That's not considered actual malice. That's just reporting. Okay. It's biased. Yes. Even if Baldoni can prove that they had early access to Lively's complaint, that doesn't prove they knowingly lied. The legal bar is so high that most cases get dismissed before discovery even starts, where all the actual evidence is. The New York Times legal strategy is simple. Drag the case out until Baldoni's team runs out of money or till the judge dismisses the case. And if he loses, anti-SLAPP laws mean he might have to pay their legal fees too, most likely. And, I don't think Steve Sarowitz minds footing the bill for the New York Times. I think he's fine. He's fine spending his money on this whole situation to expose how sneaky and dirty and rotten the New York Times is. But here's the takeaway and why I don't believe that source. There's no way that the New York Times wouldn't wait for the judge to dismiss the case. I mean, think about it, guys. It took 4 years from the day the article was written. Like, I didn't have an answer whether the case could move forward in 4 years. So you think that, and the New York Times didn't offer to do anything until, they didn't offer to do anything, period. But the judge said that my case was valid. I have a feeling the judge might say this case is not valid because where is the smoking gun that the New York Times lied in the article? The New York Times loves holding people accountable, but when it comes to holding itself accountable, different story. This isn't about whether Baldoni is guilty or innocent. This is about how media giants are basically bulletproof, even when they get the story wrong and ruin lives. The press should be free, but it shouldn't be free from accountability. Yeah, we talked about that. The New York Times, I don't think that New York Times versus Sullivan will change. So the only way that the New York Times gets held accountable if you guys cancel the Times, if you unfollow them, block them everywhere. Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against the New York Times is ambitious, but if you know how libel law works, you'll see the cracks. The New York Times hasn't lost a libel case since 1964, and they don't settle. I keep stressing that point so you guys can tell people, this isn't an easy thing. It's not because they're always right. It's because the system is rigged in their favor. Okay? So Baldoni's case is claiming that the New York Times knowingly spread false allegations about him before Blake Lively's legal complaint was even filed. The argument, the paper worked hand in hand with her to craft the perfect PR bombshell, framing him as a villain before she even made her accusations official. But framing him as a villain does not prove defamation. His lawsuit highlights key issues. The no more list. Baldoni says the infamous 30-point list Lively submitted was fabricated. He never saw it, never signed off on it, and it was designed to make him look guilty. Okay. But if the New York Times was given that 30-point thing because it was filed in the complaint, what are they going to say? The New York Times is going to say, well, it was in her complaint, so we reported on it. We didn't do anything wrong. Our hands are clean. The lawsuit also claims selective framing. The New York Times framed him as going on the offensive with PR, but he has text showing he and his team showed that Baldoni told his team not to attack Lively. There was a lot of bias. They painted Baldoni's PR moves as sinister while completely ignoring Lively's own PR efforts. Painting a story, though, is not defamation. You know, it's like feeding a hit piece to the Times months in advance is what they're saying happened. But here's why it's going to be hard to win. The New York Times defense is already clear. They didn't publish the allegations. They just reported on the legal complaint. That's a massive legal loophole. If a lawsuit or legal filing makes an accusation, news outlets are generally protected in reporting on it, even if it turns out to be false. Baldoni's team needs to prove that the New York Times wasn't just reporting, but actually collaborating with Lively to defame him. And that's a very tall order. And let's be real, the media has a template for these lawsuits. Defend the reporting, attack the plaintiff. They did it to me. They did it to Baldoni. They'll do it to the next person who challenges them. And most of us don't have a billionaire backer like Steve Sarowitz. So while I think it is so stand up of him to go against the Times, I call BS on a $200 million settlement. Are you crazy? Right away? Not even in a year, 2 years. They're not even going to wait for the judge to dismiss it. Come on, give me a break. I mean, I can almost say with 100% certainty that is not a true rumor. So will this case take down the New York Times? Unlikely, but will expose how media hit pieces are orchestrated in Hollywood? Absolutely. And that's what we're going to continue to do on this channel. Thank you so much for listening and for hanging in there. I hope you guys check out my merch. Here's one. It says facts, receipts, timeline screenshots. Make sure you are following the channel. This is a one-woman show, and we need your help to keep the channel going. So you can find all my stuff at littlemissjacob.com. Thank you, chat, for hanging out. I hope that gives you guys. I know I was just reading, an existing tweet, but I never talked about it. Sometimes this stuff is hard to swallow. You're like, how is it allowed? They're allowed to do that. They're allowed to frame things. You got to go back and watch. I will later link the other videos where I go through the New York Times article about Baldoni piece by piece, and it'll show you how they get away with twisting and making him out to be the villain without actually doing any libel. And let me know what you guys are interested in hearing about next. I think I should probably eventually do a breakdown of the article they wrote about me, about my lawsuit against the New York Times. But I will say that even though it's been 4 years and I like to laugh about this stuff now, it really gets me. And, it's like still fresh. So I want to do that one where I'm feeling like happy. And I mean, I am happy. My point, I'm happy. But the point is, like, I got to feel really good about what I put together because, it was such like a traumatizing time. I'm also looking into this other case about a judge who wrote 2 books about a villainous hedge fund manager. And then she presided over a case of this said hedge fund guy. So she is presiding over a case about a hedge fund guy. And then she writes a fictional story about how evil this hedge fund guy is that goes after a judge, I think, and tries to do something bad to a judge. I don't know. It's a fictional story she wrote. But somehow she's still presiding over the case. Like, these kind of legal gymnastics blow my mind. How is this legal? I guess that's what my channel is about. Is how is this legal? How is this fair? How is this just? That's the kind of stuff I like to expose. And I hope you guys will stay tuned and let me know in the comments what you guys want to hear about. And what do you think? Do you think that this rumor is true? I don't know. Let's call on the legal experts to say what they think. I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. Bye. I gotta find my music.
Watch your step, she's here to play. And though she be but little, she is fierce. Takes the drama, cuts it clear. This is the Little Miss Jacob Show. Bullies beware, she'll take you down in a thread, you know. Play it cool, keep it calm, let the rhythm flow. Climbing high while they're stuck down below. No shortcuts, no cheats, she's here to win. Every comeback's fire, let the games begin. Oh, keep it tight, watch the moves unfold. Every word's a strike, every line is gold. Take your shot, but she's 10 steps ahead. Every headline reads the thread she just said. It's the rhythm of the bold, the beat of the free, the sound of ambition, the way it should be. Step by step, let the groove take control. Turn the highs and lows into pure gold. This is the show, this is the vibe. The Little Miss Jacob groove is alive. And though she be but little, she is fierce. Cuts through the noise with words that pierce. It's not just wit, it's how you move. Every challenge fuels the groove. It's the rhythm of the bold, the beat of the free, the sound of ambition, the way it should be. Step by step, let the groove take control. Turn the highs and lows into pure gold. This is the show, this is the vibe. The Little Miss Jacob groove is alive. She'll flip the whole route. This is the Little Miss Jacob Show, where the real ones rise and the rest lay low. Watch your step.